Pickle, let's go to the hotline. The man that I trust to keep his pickup truck well lubed and well accounted for, well maintained. Let's go to the hotline and joined by the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, our friend Craig Way. Craig, is that true? Can I trust you to keep your truck running in tip-top condition?
Even as we speak, I'm watching them pour 5W30 weight into my truck here at the oil change place. So absolutely, you can depend on that.
Actually, that's a decent question. How many miles do you put on your truck each year?
Yeah.
Do you have like a broad estimate?
Number.
I think now over last year it was split over a couple of trucks, and there was a vacation drive to North Carolina in it. So if you remove that, because that's about 6,000 miles round trip, counting all the driving on vacation. So if you pull that out, it's probably in the neighborhood of 180,000 miles.
God,
good Lord.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of oil changes.
Glad we pulled out the 6,000 miles. I really was going to keep it from being a shocking number. It's Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, joined us here on Texas Football Today. All right. So last week, Matt Stepp and I called the week 6 of the Texas high school football season with a lot of open dates and things like that. We called it the bag of cereal week because you're not getting the brand name. You got to go down and get the bag of cereal, but it's still good for you. How do you like when you take a look back at week 6 of the Texas high school football season, knowing that it was a lighter slate and knowing that maybe there weren't as many showcase matchups? Did you have any broad takeaways from last week's action?
I really filled up on the store brand Cocoa Puffs. I really did. I thought there was enough of what we saw from Columbus, Madisonville, and some of the other big ones that we saw. Obviously, the big 6-man game between Abbott and Borden County, and there were some others. So there were enough, I think, quality choices to carry the meal, even if you didn't have frontline Cocoa Puffs or Cocoa Krispies there carrying the breakfast for you.
So now we are into district play. Really, across the entire state, it's you got to hunt to find games that aren't in district play. Early, and there are some teams, a number of districts that have already started play. Are there any districts across the state that you are keeping a particular eye on, either because of bracketing implications or simply because they're already cutting the brakes and things are getting wild? Are there any districts across the state that have your attention in particular?
Well, I think we mentioned this last week on the program when you and I were doing the the keys left to the kingdom and nobody minding the store with us. We talked about 19-6A and 25-6A and the similarities, but I still think it's very early returns on those precincts. We're going to wait. We'll get a better indication of, in 25-6A here in the greater Austin area, what Vandergrist's fate may be. This week's Westwood Vista Ridge game, I think, goes a long way toward pushing that one way or the other. And then in 19-6A, like you said, it's just a flat-out mess right now below Katy down there. So we'll have to kind of keep a close watch on what's going on with those two districts. Having said that, I've got my eye on one. I'm a little intrigued by Highland Park Berkner. Mm-hmm. What with Berkner beating Lake Highlands, the Lake Highlands team to beat Highland Park. So, I mean, just kind of keeping an eye on that and some other lower classifications as well. But that would be kind of a cross-section, you might say.
I'll give you another district that caught my eye, and I can't quit looking at it, and it's basically because of what happened last week, and that is 13-5A Division II. This is the kind of Austin area, like Liberty Hill type looped in there, as well as San Antonio Veterans Memorial, San Antonio Piper, Kerrville Tivy getting out in the hill country, kind of this weird amalgamation of greater central Texas powers. And it did feel like maybe we'd figured things out when, Kerrville Tivy takes down Liberty Hill. Liberty Hill, okay, maybe this just isn't their year. But then Kerrville Tivy goes and loses to Bastrop. That is a district in 13-5A Division II that I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. And it does feel like there's always one or two of those districts every year where just chaos reigns, and we're going to have to sort out the tie. We know right now, 5 weeks before brackets come out, that we're going to need to have the tiebreaker abacus ready.
Yeah, and it happened in that exact same district 2 years ago, remember. They had all kinds of crazy things happening in that district right toward the end. So it wouldn't surprise me. Bastrop has shown some things early, and then they taken a smack or two, but I still think they can be a player in this deal. Obviously, the key players, Tybee and Liberty Hill, those ones are going to have to be reckoned with. But you're right. I think this comes down to weeks 10 and 11, the final 2 weeks of the regular season. And yes, roll out the tie-breaking procedures. I think we're going to see that. But then again, nerds like you and I live for that type of stuff, don't we?
That's exactly right. It's Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. Join us here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag TF Today. Okay, Craig, Pickle and I had an exercise yesterday on the show, and I want to loop you in on this, where we were trying to draw a line and a gap between teams as far as teams that are the most serious contenders, and then where you would separate them from the field. In 6A, we drew it after North Shore, with basically Duncanville and North Shore up at the top. In 5A D1, for example, we thought it's just kind of a Lido against the field. Let me ask you a question, and I want to go down. We mentioned Columbus earlier. I want to talk about 3A Division I. Our rankings this week: Franklin, Columbus, Malakoff, Hitchcock, Winsboro, Paradise, Edna, Brock, Pottsboro, and Muleshoe. Where in the world do you put that gap where you would separate these are the elite teams, and these are the teams that, with the right play, could certainly vault up into there, but right now you would put them in a tier below them?
Who did you have third again?
Malakoff.
Okay.
And then Hitchcock.
And then Hitchcock?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. This is going to sound a little weird. I think there's a little bit of separation between 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think and then there's a little bit more separation below 4. Mm-hmm. The top 2, I think, are the top 2, and we're already looking toward Sweet 16 weekend, mm-hmm. I guess, if it works out that way for Franklin and Columbus. But I think that there are plenty of, like you said, if it all falls right and they play right and get a break or two, to make that kind of deep run in the postseason. We've seen it in this division happen in the past, so it wouldn't surprise me at all to see it again. But right now, probably those top 2, Franklin and Columbus, I put them ahead of the by a large margin, but a step ahead.
It's time for the meanest thing we do to one another. I'm going to be on the Craig Way Show coming up here at this afternoon on AM 1300 The Zone, if you want to hear Craig do this to me. But it's the time where we ask each other to pick one game to go to this week in Texas high school football. Craig, I'll give you 3 options to teleport to. You can teleport Thursday night. Nice little Thursday night affair on Dave Campbell's Texan Live as a matchup of unbeatens in District 21 6A, between Galena Park, North Shore, and Humble Summer Creek. You can head to Gilmer, to Jeff Traylor Stadium, for a state-ranked matchup in 4A Division II between Pleasant Grove and Gilmer, or, and I know what you're going to say already, so why even ask it, you can head to Abbott for Aquila and Abbott in a state-ranked matchup of unbeatens in a District 12 1A Division I opener. Where are you heading, Craig?
Well, let me say this. All right, there's a couple of different things in mind. Choices 1 and 2, mm-hmm. while good choices, are also choices to see. I think it's for Summer Creek, it's kind of a show me type of thing because unless somebody shows me differently, I don't see anybody better than North Shore other than perhaps Duncanville right now. We just mm-hmm. talked about that. In the case of the second game, it's 2 really good teams. But who are we kidding? We know who the big ogre at the top of that mountain is in 4AD2. So, okay, yeah, it's a great game, but can anybody knock off Carthage on down the road? In the case of 3, I think Abbott is probably a clear favorite over Aquila, but there are a couple of wrinkles that make this intriguing. We don't know an awful lot about Aquila for them to have the kind of run that they're on. And one thing that Terry Crawford said to us last week, he said they're big and they're athletic for a program that normally doesn't have that. So the question is, and it's one of those backyard rivalry things. So will that play into it? So that's why I'm intrigued by that, although I think Abbott certainly has the upper hand going in there.
He's Craig Way. He's the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. You can hear him on AM 1300 The Zone in Austin every day, 2 to 4 on the Craig Way Show. Then you can hear him on High School Scoreboard Live Friday night alongside Aaron Hardigan and myself. And then you can hear him on the call on Longhorns Radio for Texas and Oklahoma this Saturday. Craig, appreciate your time. Thanks for taking some time out of your oil change to chat a little high school football with us.
Everybody get your oil changed. Keep your levels up.
Thanks, Dad. There he goes. Craig Way.
Bye, Greg.
The Texas High School Football Hall of Famer and a boom paw to the last. You heard Craig. What are you going to do? Tell Craig Way now? Go get your oil changed.
I mean, he's got to stay on top of that if he's putting on 180,000 miles a year. 180,000.
Shocking.
Like, that's
I was prepared for him to say like 100,000.
Yeah.
I was prepared for him to be like 100,000 and be like, golly, Craig. And then he nearly doubled it.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's...
the man loves to drive. He likes to drive fast, too,
Yes.
by the way. We appreciate Craig Way, as always.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.